Burma is a Southeast Asian country located east of India and northwest of Thailand. In 1989, Burma changed its name to Myanmar. In Burma, there are 135 different ethnic groups and 100 different languages and dialects, some of which include the Chin, Kachin, Karen, Karenni, Mon, Rakhine, and Shan. In 1948, Burma gained its independence from British rule. Since 1962, the harsh military dictatorship has been in power and has been fighting opposition of independence from other parties starting to gain prowess in Burma. Burma is divided between a dominant Burmese military dictatorship and a Burmese democratic opposition led by Aung San Suu Kyi and the involving ethnic peoples campaigning for autonomy, federalism, independence, or survival. Also, in Burma, there is an organization called the SPDC, the State Peace and Development Council. This political group used ethnic cleansing to send or kill off all democratic oppositions. Another group called the Nasaka was a notorious security force known for the human trafficking of the Rohingya people. The Nasaka was endorsed by the government. There are also many different ethnic groups and minorities that make up 1/3 of the entire population. Many of these groups were fighting in Burma and were brokering ceasefires with the military junta. 648,000 ethnic groups have been displaced by the Burmese government. Aung San Suu Kyi is the chairperson of the National League of Democracy in Burma. In 1990, when Kyi's democratic opposition won 82% of the seats, the military government refused to recognize the election and put Kyi under house arrest. She remained under house arrest for almost 15 of the 21 years from July 20, 1989 to her most recent release on November 13, 2010. In Burma, the military dictatorship is constantly breaking human rights laws. Some of these include forced labor, usually for state-sponsored building projects or for the army. There is also discrimination of all minorities, including religious persecution, forced relocation, rape, extortion, land seizures, and denial of citizenship. They also violate the use of child soldiers using widespread and systematic forced recruitment, some of which who are only 10 years old. The Burmese government and law system also holds many unfair trials, often held in special prison courts, behind closed doors, and charges frequently changed. Many of these people are denied a defense lawyer. The Rohingya people are a Muslim minority in Burma with a population of 800,000. 80% of them live in the western state of Rakhine. Since the military dictatorship has been in power, the Rohingya people have always been a target of ethnic persecution. The Rohingya are secluded to the Arakan state and lost all their citizenship rights that were in Burma. In 1982, the Burma citizenship law reduced the Rohingyas to a stateless title. The draconian citizenship law in 1982 restricted Muslims from becoming citizens and receiving IDs. This law also restricted Rohingyas from holding high office. In 2005, the two-child policy was reaffirmed, restricting Rohingyas to only having 2 children per family.
Regional order lays the groundwork for the Rohingya two-child policy. This policy limits the Rohingya Muslims to a strict 2-child policy and bans the Rohingya from having children out of wedlock. These rules clearly violate the human rights for couples to marry, found a family, and determine the number and spacing of their children. The Saffron Revolution was a series of protests against the ruling junta of Burma, the State Peace and Development Council. This revolution was a peaceful demonstration of civil resistance, often led by Buddhist monks. This revolution, though, was quickly cracked down by the government. On January 14, 2014, a police mob moved all the men out of a Rohingya village after a false accusation that a Muslim man killed a police officer. Once the men were gone, the police slaughtered all the women and children. The government did their best to cover up this massacre, but the UN acknowledged the death of the Rohingya Muslims, but still nothing was done. Since the military has been in power starting in 1962, the Rohingya Muslims have been the scapegoat of state-sponsored military building projects. Ever since Aung San Suu Kyi brought attention to this, the Society for Threatened Peoples has put a lot of pressure on the International Labor Organization in Geneva to bring an end to this. The Burmese Citizenship Law of 1982 restricted the Rohingya to being stateless. In accordance, the Burmese media used propaganda, causing people to believe the Rohingyans were new to the country and deserved to be victims of the draconian citizenship laws, barring Rohingya people from holding high office jobs, restricting Rohingyan children from getting a higher education than middle school, and made it impossible for Muslim Rohingyans from receiving citizenship and getting identification cards. After being secluded to their Arakan state, Rohingyans also had their rights annulled by the Burmese government. Burma also has the highest percentage of children in their armed forces at a towering 45%, about 70,000 of their 3.5 million soldiers. Some children too small to hold a rifle. Children were tricked into the military by being promised with jobs, status, clothing, free education, money, and are threatened with arrest for refusal to join the military. Beginning at the liberalization of Burma from British rule, Burma has been in a massive civil war. The civil war is between a more diverse left-wing army, even including the Rohingya Muslims, versus the military government in power. The Karen and Shan people lead the left side, while smaller groups contribute and often use bases in Bangladesh for refuge. Ever since the Rohingya Muslims have been targeted by the ruling government, the segregation between their Rakhine state and others is huge. The Rohingya people are completely cut off from markets, job opportunities, and higher education. Illness is rampant due to the living quarters, bathing areas, and bathrooms, all within extremely close proximity. Many campaigns have been launched to stop human rights violations in Burma. In February of 2014, the U.S. State Department passed policies towards persecution to end abuse to the Rohingya Muslims. Also, in March of 2014, the United to End Genocide happened, finding new facts about abuse towards the Rohingyas and Obama taking action to